This podcast is brought to you by Power Retail and was recorded at the Retail Global Gold Coast Conference 2019.
All right, it's Grant Harnett from Power Retail here. Excited to be with the one and only Jason Kencevski of Speedmaster. I think of Speedmaster as the biggest business nobody knows about. So tell us what it is and how big it is and how it started as well.
So Speedmaster have been around since 1979, 40 years, going on 40 now, which is kind of really nice. Very, very simple. We just make car parts. Yeah, so where it started was basically the human urge to drive a faster car. Faster you go, you're going to break something, and in this case you're breaking engine components, so we just made those components better. And we found our niche in Australia and grew to America, and I've shipped over 5 million products, over 12 months ago. So pretty cool stats, chilling stats actually. Yeah.
And so you've been involved with it for a long time now, but I feel like yourself, you really brought the e-commerce component to the business. Obviously, it was bricks and mortar, and then you came in, the young guy and the digitally focused guy, and sort of brought e-commerce into the Speedmaster business. How did that form the business?
So it was weird. Because in 2005 we didn't have an e-commerce presence, and e-commerce was kind of it was around, it was in, it was around, it was happening.
A bit sketchy.
Definitely, a bit sketchy for sure, and that was for e-commerce. But we tackled e-commerce on it as an automotive company 10 years ahead of everyone else, which was great. So the segue into the business for me was I actually was selling computers on eBay since 1999. And helped kind of just say, hey, we might be able to sell this online too, and started from there, and it kind of grew out of control. What's kind of segued today is that it's become actually its own channel, which is weird because it's it used to be a funnel, it used to be something you would used to do, but now mobile commerce is bigger than desktop commerce, and that's just on a retail front, that's where you need to be. So it's definitely increased revenue's definitely increased on an online point of view. You might talk hundreds of percent, you might talk 100% increase of revenue or 200%. But the fact of the matter is it was always only adding maybe a 5 or 6% on the top line, if that makes sense. Which is pretty healthy anyway, because you don't really want to see too much more growth other than that. But what it proved was people were happy to shop online, if that answers your question, I guess.
And so the site's been around a long time now, doing e-commerce. How has it evolved over the last few years, building that community? I imagine your customers are extremely passionate and dedicated to high performance motoring. So how has that evolved over the last
it's weird because all e-commerce has gone through this realization, but it's kind of weird because at one stage there it was really multimedia was the in thing. So you'd have all this flash and all this cool stuff on the sites. People wanted to see just videos and GIFs and all this sort of stuff, and then it kind of it disappeared because Steve Jobs kind of removed Flash, as out of sites, and then he went to HTML only or HTML5. I know I'm getting technical. But he got really flat. So then we kind of lost that connection with the customer. But where it came back, I know we're segueing into another thing, but where it came back was social media. So then we had to learn to actually play what used to be on our site, which was a customer experience and telling customer stories. That's always the key to any successful business, is sharing customer experiences and stories. And then we moved that into social media. So we had to then find the link between how do you have a functional website and how do you tell a cool story, but then also send them to Facebook. So that was kind of how it evolved for us, and where it is today, I guess. A functional website and a fun online Facebook environment, I guess. So, yeah.
So a lot of people in our audience will know you, Jason, or know of you. You've won awards. I know you won an All-Star Bash award last year, I think it was. And people, it comes up often. People say, "Oh, Jason Kencevski, the best life, just running around in sports cars." You follow you on Instagram, and it's nothing but Jace sitting in a McLaren or sitting in some kind of hot rod, having fun. But it's got to be a lot more to it than that, mate. I know you work really hard, and not only you're active in the e-commerce industry, but some of the challenges, I guess, some of the real challenges you've had over the last few years that you've broken through.
Yeah, so definitely, social media is definitely a persona that we all put on. We wish we could live that lifestyle, but you know, you have to roll with the social media profiles. Outside of that, to give you a single sentence on who Jason Kencevski is, they say work smarter, not harder. Unfortunately, I work harder and try to work smarter. So, yeah, what you see is not what you get. So some of the massive challenges were personal challenges, which was there's a glass ceiling out there, and it's about how to break through that glass ceiling. So the biggest challenges we had was internal training. Right. So from me through to everybody else, which is trying to understand that how do we go from $100,000 to $1 million to 10 to 100 and so on and so forth. How do we break through those barriers? So the biggest key issue was understanding that the only one thing I know is I know nothing. Yep. That was probably the hardest part, and then transforming that mentality into our team so we were forever learning, because there's so much that goes on into running a business and growing it other than just spending money. It's people, technology, there's so many moving parts. So hopefully that answers your question, yeah.
And the international growth is obviously, when I say Speedmasters, the business no one knows in Australia, but you've got bigger presences in other countries, right? The US particularly, but you talked about, or it was mentioned Shanghai earlier today, and some of your other markets. How are they going? Like, how do you see those compared to the Australian market?
So they're different. They're evolved differently with different. So money plays a massive factor. So it's also a big social presence. So in America, at one stage, if you drove a Ferrari or Lamborghini, it automatically said something about who you were. Yep. And now the Chinese and the Arab markets are they're a couple of years behind, or a couple of generations behind the money. So what that means is the first time a Chinese person makes $1 million, they're buying a Rolex and a Ferrari or Lamborghini. In America, it's no longer the case. What the case is now is like second and third generation wealth, where you've got someone like Jay Leno who's getting out of his 70-year-old muscle car, and he's in blue jeans and a t-shirt. Yep. You'd never pick that the car that he just turned up in is $60 million or $30 million. It's freaky. Yep. So when the Americans are moving away from that, so what we're trying to do is we're trying to build a product that we can then segue into other countries. So to answer your question, we are now selling cars into Dubai and China because they are now segueing into third generation wealth. They don't work on their cars. So that's the only way we could see growth in those areas. They're not going to buy a crankshaft. Right. Effectively, that's what our core business is. We make a crankshaft or we make bearings. Those countries aren't buying them. They are buying cars because that's what they see in the American market. So Australia's a little bit different. We're a little bit more unique. We kind of love our water, love the oceans and all the rest, and that's not the key factor for us on our social status, I think. So that's, I think, hopefully answers your question in how have we moved into those markets and why we're bigger there as opposed to here, because that's kind of a massive social presence. Okay.
Well, look, we're just about out of time, Jason. We really appreciate having you on board, but I know there's something even bigger than Speedmaster coming in your life. Pretty exciting news. You've got a baby on the way. You want to talk about that and how excited you are?
Thank you for bringing it up, because so I've got a little girl due on the 2nd of July, so that's exciting times.
Not far away.
And it's going to be awesome to kind of share this with her in 5 or 10 years' time. So thank you so much for bringing that up, and hopefully I can manage at home like I do at work. I think I'm going to struggle.
Good luck, mate.
Yeah, exactly.
Let's see her take it.
Yeah, that's it. So hopefully I'll try. But thank you so much for bringing that up. But yeah, I mean, I've got a dog, so I don't know. That's a good segue into it, hopefully.
Well, Jason, always a pleasure, mate. You're a great bloke. We're good mates, and it's good to see you again, and love hearing the Speedmaster story. We'll try and get hold of this video that was played earlier today of Jace doing spin-outs in the, is that the warehouse in Sydney somewhere?
That's the LA facility.
Yep, yeah. Okay. In some pretty shit-hot cars. So
one's John Winning's car.
One's, John Winning's car. So that's the life ahead of you if you work hard in e-commerce, folks. So, it takes a lot of hard work. It's not all doing spin-outs in cars. Good on you, mate.
Thank you so much.
Thanks for joining us.